Welcome to Uncle's Channel. Thanks for watching today. Let's continue our journey to finish every single Game Boy and Game Boy Color game. And today we're focusing on a game called Revenge of the Gator for the original Game Boy. It is a pinball game that is pretty much unlike any other pinball game I've ever played. Now granted, I don't have a ton of experience going through pinball games. I've pretty much only played Pokemon Pinball on the Game Boy thus far, and I know there's like a heck of a lot of other pinball games out there, including Kirby Pinball, which everyone says is also fantastic. But this is a very unique pinball game as far as like having multiple screens, multiple little bonus mini games inside there, alligators you get to attack, and of course get extra points, extra life off of, and just a pretty adorable and charming animation throughout the entire experience. And I don't know, like I actually really did enjoy this pinball game quite a bit here. Now this particular game did move it up in the queue a good bit here because the Swill Man requested I cover it sooner than later, so naturally moved it up in the queue. If there's a game that you would like to see me cover sooner than later, let me know the name of that game in the comments down below, and just like Revenge of the Gator, I'll move it right up in the queue. But let's go and get into the actual game. I always like to start the videos off by looking at the box art for the game first, and the box art for Revenge of the Gator pretty much tells you immediately this is a pinball game. It has a little bit extra personality to it, because you of course have the giant pinball coming at you, the scoreboard, the bumpers, all the core elements of a pinball game, but then you have all these little cartoon alligators as well, each on the side with their own little personality, one popping his head out from a little hole, one knocking the actual pinball. So you know it's like pinball, but it's also got its own little I don't know, extra little oomph to it, and that's going to be the Gator part of it. I feel like the cover does a good job of telling you, like, this is not just an ordinary pinball game, this has a little bit extra fun along the way. Now when you load the actual game up here, you got a very adorable little tile screen. Of course, it says the name of the game up top, little alligators off to the side. But the best part is these little dancing alligators are going to sort of pop in and pop out and sort of dance and sync along with the music from one side to the other. And I don't know, it reminds me like of old school entertainers or something you'd see like at a carnival or something like that. I mean, like Mr. Peanut would fit in like perfectly with this little alligator crew here. I don't know, I just like really enjoy the aesthetics and the sense of humor that the alligator dancers have, and it just goes along with the music really well. And it just sort of lets you know like this game is of course got a normal pinball aspect to it, but it's got a good sense of humor at the same time. And I don't know, I like the tile screen quite a bit. Now when you look here, there are 4 different game modes that you can go into. There's 1 player, there's 2 players, there's match A, and then there's match B. Now 1 player is just simply your normal try to get a high score pinball game. 2 players going to be taking turns back and forth, trying to see who can get the high score on the pinball game. Match A and Match B is going to be through the link cable, and we're going to get to that at the end of the video, but it's a really cool like multiplayer aspect where you're like battling against each other, not just for a high score. But let's go ahead and start with the 1 player mode here, because that's going to be what we have to do in order to finish the game. Now there are no credits that will ever roll in the game, and so our goal is simply going to be to get the high score higher than all the computer scores on here. Now the computer high score is 500,000, so our goal is to get at least 500,001 in order to consider finishing the game. Now the first time I loaded up, I wasn't exactly sure like how the game played, like all the mechanics here, but the D-pad moves your left flipper over here, and the A and B button will move your right flipper, and those are pretty much the only 2 buttons you'll have inside the game. And so the little pinball of course goes across the top, and I see all these different little moving parts throughout the environment here. And at first it just simply seems like there are 2 parts of the screen, the top part and the bottom part, and you're simply trying to keep the ball afloat and not go down for the bottom screen's hole here, because it'll be eaten up by an alligator and you lose that particular life. And there's all kinds of like little parts here like you can hit into, like little alligators off to the side of the screen. You can bash all their heads in. A little spin part where of course you go around the little alligator themselves. Little hearts up at the top. Little platforms off to the left hand side to possibly open up this hidden door here. But the game controls well. The music is good in the background. The graphics are pretty fantastic here. And I like what the game has to offer. But my first time playing, I only got like 79,000, which is pretty low. It's only 1/5 of the way there for my overall goal, which is 500,000. And I thought if I want like any chance of actually achieving that goal, I'm going to have to actually understand like how the pinball board or pinball game works here. And so I looked up online to see like how all the mechanics come together, like as far as like how to advance from one board to the other, how to get bumpers to appear, how to like get into the bonus games, all of that. And so the next time that I loaded up, like I actually have an understanding of like what I'm trying to achieve in every one of the individual screens in order to access these bonus games, and also to increase the number or increase my level that I'm going up on individual pinball tables. And so when I load up the second time, there are actually 4 individual pinball tables that you can go through, or 4 individual screens. And so I'm going to label them 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now when you start the game off, you only have access to 1 and 2, the bottom 2 screens. And so we're going to look at the bottom screen first here. Now the bottom screen is where the, basically if you knock it through the bottom, it's going to go into a little alligator's mouth. He's going to eat the little ball up. And you have 3 lives, and if you lose all 3 lives, of course you have a game over here. But you do not want to knock it down that middle hole, because that's sort of the basically your form of dying in the game. And so on the bottom screen here, you basically have these little alligators' heads off to the side. If you knock all 4 of those down, you get a little bit of a bonus. I'm not really sure on this screen how to get the bumpers to appear, but the bumpers are a lifesaver as far as like allowing you to have an opportunity for a high score. And also in the bottom screen here, I was never really able to figure out how to access bonus game number 1. But at some point you can access bonus game number 1. It takes you to an extra little screen here. It has like a almost like a breakout version of Revenge of the Gator, and you knock your little pinball up there. It knocks through all these little little look like Dr. Mario pills. You hit all those, get a lot of points from that. Eventually, if you free the Gator up top, he'll come down. If you kill the Gator, you get even more points, and you can really rack up the points inside the bonus game. And it's a shame I didn't really understand how to get it to appear in the bottom of the pinball screens here, because it's one of the easier of the bonus games, and you can rack up a lot of points this way. But at the same time, I tried not to play much of the actual pinball game in the bottom screen, because if you end up knocking through the bottom part, you actually lose a life, where that's not going to be the case with any of the other pinball screens. And so let's focus on the screen that's above the bottom one here. I'm going to call it screen number 2. Now, screen number 2 is a very, very important screen here. Now, with this one, if you actually knock it up to the top and knock it through all the little hearts here, you can actually get the bumpers to appear. I did figure that part out. And so you get the bumpers to appear, and then your goal is to focus on knocking all these little platforms down, or all these little pieces down on the left-hand side, and then you can actually knock it through the little door here, and you can go up into the third screen. And so the second screen here doesn't have a bonus game. It just simply is going to sort of be your gateway to the upper 2 screens. Now, screen 3, or table number 3 here, is a very, very important one as far as like advancing you or going to a really fun bonus game. And so you have all these little pegs on the left-hand side and on the right-hand side. If you knock all the pegs down on the left-hand side and all the little alligator teeth or platforms off to the side as well, then you can go through the little area to the far left-hand corner here. And if you go through that, you actually go to a bonus game. Now, this bonus game is like a almost like a alligator egg destruction, because you go through here, you try to destroy all these little alligator eggs, and then little alligator angels come out, and you try to destroy the alligator angels. And if you can keep it alive, you can go through and keep this going like as long as you want to, continuing racking up the points. And it's just a fun little bonus game as you're going through it. Now, if you go back to table number 3 here, and you, of course, now go into the right-hand side, knock all the little platforms down, knock all the little alligator teeth out as well, you can finally go through the right-hand door here, and you go to the top of the 4 pinball tables. Now, the top table here, you're going to notice in the upper left-hand side and the upper right-hand side, along the little rolly part here, there are little fish. And if you knock the fish, they go to the alligator in the middle of the screen. And once you feed the alligator, I think it's like 5 or 6 fish, at that point the alligator is able to break free from the cage, and you're going to start coming down. You have to attack the alligator, and then you can get an extra life. That's the only way to get an extra life or an extra ball inside the game. So that is one way to obviously rack up points, because you're fighting through all this to get that extra life. But it's also a way to sort of continue the game a little bit longer, because now you can actually die 1 extra time. But while you're trying to, of course, hit these little fish to feed the gator, if you knock it into the little hole up here in the upper right-hand corner, you can actually go to another bonus game room, and it's like a little, almost like whack-a-mole alligator, because if you roll it over these little star platforms, an alligator comes out, and then if you, of course, let the ball come down and hit the alligator, you get points from that. And your goal here is just simply to continue to hit the alligators as many times as possible, racking up the points as you go. Honestly, if you want any chance of getting the high score here, you're going to have to focus on getting into these bonus games, because you can rack the points up like crazy. And if you die, it's not a big deal, because you simply go back to the main table. Now, if you are at the top table, obviously your goal is to stay at the top table as long as possible, freeing the alligator, getting the bonus games. But if you end up falling down through the hole, you just simply go to table number 3, and of course you can fight through and try to get the bonus game off to the left-hand side, or advance back up to the top table. If you fall down that hole, you go back to the second table, and then you have to, of course, do the little strategy here of knocking the platforms down to advance back up, and you're sort of stuck at the bottom 2 tables until you advance back all the way to the top again. And so your goal here is really to stay as high up on the table as possible, to access those bonus games as much as you can, and to continue to attack the alligator. Like I said, I would recommend spending as little time as possible in the bottom screen, because if you fall through that hole, it is an actual death to you, and do that 3 times and you've lost the game completely. And I'm not going to sit here and say like the game is super easy. It takes a while to actually get down to mechanics here, like when to do the flippers just perfect to get to go into the certain areas that you want it to. And even then, it does feel like sort of random sometimes, because it is still pinball at the end of the day. But the game does give you a lot of opportunities to get like little bumpers up there, little safety areas. It gives you opportunity to get extra lives. It gives you opportunity to, of course, advance up the table, so when you fall down, it's not as big of a deal. And so the game has a lot of redemption to it, or or a lot of ability to allow you to continue the game instead of just sort of killing you off pretty much immediately. And I do like an arcade, or I do like a pinball game that gives you those extra chances, or gives you the ability to sort of save yourself in order to extend the gameplay a little bit. And at the close of all of my tries here, my final score was 527,690. So I was able to get the high score on the game. And of course, that allows me to consider finishing this game since the credits are not going to roll. And once you get your high score, you can go back into the game, play it all over again, and just sort of a game where you compete continually to get a higher score than all of your friends or your own personal goal here. And so I actually really enjoyed this particular arcade game. I liked the charm of the alligators. I felt like it was organized really well as far as like having you advance from one screen to the next screen, and one from that table to the next table. Has plenty of little bonus games to go about it as well. The bonus games were actually fun. I like the idea of like freeing the alligator by feeding him fish, and then of course getting extra life by defeating the alligator. Like I don't know, like I just had fun playing this particular game. And pinballs aren't really like my favorite type of game, but I feel like this one is really well done. Now let's get into the multiplayer mode. Now I wasn't able to actually experience the multiplayer mode on its own. I had to watch some video footage, and so I'll put some video footage up here on the screen of another creator. His name is Radical Reggie. And of course, he's loaded up 2 individual Game Boys here to showcase how match play works. And with this, with the link cable, you're basically on one single screen, and you're basically trying to knock the ball into the other opponent's hole. Sort of like how like Crossfire was, that old game from the 80s. I don't know if anybody remembers that particular game. But you're basically just simply taking a strategy here of knocking the ball across the table into the other player's goal. And when you cross that center line, the gravity does change, so it's going to be falling toward their hole instead of your hole, and vice versa. And personally, I can see this being a real hoot to play. Like, I really enjoy like little simple multiplayer games like this. And if I can ever come across 2 individual copies of Revenge of the Gator, I have a link cable. I know me and my friends are going to be playing Revenge of the Gator on this match play here. Very excited for that. But overall, Revenge of the Gator in and of itself is a very unique arcade game, or very unique pinball game here, because pretty much every other one that I've seen is always just simply 2 screens, like Pokemon Pinball. And this one actually expands into having like 4 individual screens, things to do on every single screen, very individual, unique bonus games along the way, and just a lot of chances for players to actually redeem themselves instead of just simply dying over and over and over. And I don't know, it's just a really fun pinball game. If you haven't had a chance to play it, I do recommend giving Revenge of the Gator a try. I think you'll be very satisfied with it. If you enjoy pinball, I think you'll really love it. If you don't enjoy pinball, I think you'll still like it, because the gameplay is very solid, and there's a lot of variety to it. Overall, on Revenge of the Gator, I'd probably give it like a 7 or an 8. I can't think of like anything I'd really improve on it. Maybe like some table variety. Maybe they could have added that in there. Or maybe like a mode where you could do like the match play against a computer. That'd been pretty fun. Or maybe have like a way to actually get the credits to roll, like an actual finish to the game. That would have been pretty cool. But as it stands, a really solid pinball game, 7 or an 8, and I highly recommend giving it a playthrough. But if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check out my other videos listed up above. And as always, go out there, find a great game to play. Simply have a great rest of the day.